First, I would like to thank you immensely for inviting me to speak on this very important topic of cervical cancer. Cervical cancer is cancer of the cervix, which means cancer of the neck of the womb. This is a very serious global public health issue because it affects women around the world. It is the second commonest cause of cancer in women and is a leading cause of deaths among our women. And this topic is very important because early detection can cure more than 95%, which is why this interview is very relevant today. Well, cervical cancer, like I said, is a global public health problem. We now know that there's a virus called the human papilloma virus that causes cervical cancer. Not the COVID virus, but the human papilloma virus. And this virus, there are some factors that modulate the oncogenic potential of this virus. In other words, there are some factors that increase the rate in which this virus infects our women. And these factors will include 1. People early onset of sexual activity. Women that start having sex very early, they have this risk factor. Number 2, women that have many children, what we call multiparity, they are also prone to having this cervical cancer. Then women that have many sexual partners, they have about 5-6 sexual partners, and they meet regularly, they are also prone to having this cervical cancer because these factors will increase the rate at which the HPV will attack the woman. Then again, women that have partners, a woman that have one partner, but the partner have so many other partners, so they are also prone to having cervical cancer. The women that smoke cigarette a lot, we know that women that smoke a lot. Women that smoke a lot, in fact, research has shown that for women that smoke, there's a 3 to 4-fold increase in cervical cancer in women that smoke. Then again, people that use what they call the combined oral pills, the pills they use to prevent pregnancy. So when they are on prolonged combined oral pills, they are more susceptible to having this cervical cancer. Then women who also have HIV/AIDS are also more predisposed to having cervical cancer. Or people that have immunosuppression, anything that can suppress the immunity in a woman can lead them to having more cervical cancer. Then of course, women that have sexually transmitted infection, that have what they call the STIs, like gonorrhea, chlamydia, they are also more susceptible to having this infection. Or women that have men that have these infections, they are also more susceptible. So these are the risk factors. HPV, which is the human papilloma virus, is the cause, but these other risk factors will modulate the oncogenic potential, the risk of increase the risk of this HPV causing cervical cancer. Thank you very much. One of the symptoms of cervical cancer is vaginal bleeding. The woman will start bleeding from the vagina. And one of the commonest is what we call the postcoital bleeding. Whenever a woman meets her husband or she meets her partner, she bleeds immediately after sex, what we call postcoital bleeding. Then some women can also bleed after they have finished seeing their period. In other words, they have postmenopausal bleeding. They bleed after they have stopped their menses, just suddenly start bleeding again. The women can also have pre-menopausal bleeding. Before they are menopause, they also start bleeding. Then they can also bleed in between their period, what they call intermenstrual bleeding. So women that can have this kind of bleeding. Then they can also have bleeding, irregular vaginal bleeding, or what they call abnormal vaginal bleeding. They just bleed because they have cervical cancer. So bleeding is one of the symptoms they can have. Then they can also have what we call vaginal discharge, which is actually foul-smelling, purulent vaginal discharge. And this vaginal discharge can also be blood-stained. And it can be blood-stained, that you can have blood inside the vaginal discharge, and it can be very foul-smelling, which is different from the normal vaginal discharge of other things like gonorrhea and the rest. So this are the things they can have. They can also have other symptoms that is referable to, because when the cancer develops, it begins to spread. So if the cancer spread to the bladder, so women can have bleeding, they can have, when they are urinating, they have blood in their urine. They can also have frequency of urination. They will urinate a lot more than normal. Then they wake up severally to urinate in the night. Then they also have pain when they are passing urine. Then the thing can also spread to other parts of the body. Any part of the body that this cancer spread to, the symptoms on that part of the body will be evident. They can have constipation if you enter the what they call the rectum. You can have problem with cough if you go to the lungs, and they can have chest pain. So whatever the cancer spread to, they will manifest such symptoms. Thank you very much. This is a very important question. Yes, we can lower the risk. Our women can lower the risk by avoiding these risk factors. We said earlier that if a woman starts having sex early, that is predisposed. So we encourage women to delay sex till marriage, if possible. Then they should not have too many children. Then if possible, they should reduce the number of children they have. Then if possible, they should not have too many sexual partners. One partner should be enough. So then if they have what if they have sexually transmitted infection, it should be provided. They go to a good hospital where it can be treated properly for them. So also, if they should not use other pills for prolonged period, then if possible, they should avoid cigarette smoking. So they should avoid all these risk factors that modulate the oncogenic potential of human papillomavirus. Now, cervical cancer can be prevented, which is why I'm very happy with this discussion. Now, health education is one way you can educate our women about cervical cancer. Health education and health promotion, like we are doing now. What is health education? Health education simply means the act of empowering people to take control over their health and its determinants, and thereby improve their health. It's a very core function of public health, and it helps in reducing communicable, non-communicable, and other threats to our life. So it's very important to educate our women that they should avoid all those risk factors earlier mentioned, so that they can reduce their risk of having cervical cancer. Then the vaccines are now available. We have 3 major types of. We said that HPV is what causes cervical cancer. Then we have vaccines, 3 HPV vaccines. We have the bivalent vaccine, we have the quadrivalent vaccine, we have the bivalent vaccine. The bivalent, the quadrivalent, and the bivalent. The bivalent protect against 2 types. The quadrivalent protect against 4 types. Then the bivalent protect against 9 types. So the bivalent protect against HPV 16 and 18. The quadrivalent protect against HPV 6, 11, 16, and 18. While the bivalent protect against HPV 6, 11, 18, 16, 31, 32, 52, and 58. So these vaccines are available for us to use. This vaccine will help to reduce the prevalence of the incidence of cervical cancer, which is why it is very important for us to know about these vaccines. And these vaccines are available everywhere. In general hospitals, in teaching hospitals, in private hospitals, they are available. So women can easily access these vaccines, and thereby they can reduce the risk of getting cervical cancer. Very well, we have the vaccine in Havana Specialist Hospital, and they are available, and women can come at any time to access these vaccines. At any point in time, they can easily access these vaccines. Very good. Now we say that you have what we call the pre-malignant state and the malignant state, that is the cancer state. Now for the pre-malignant state, what we call the CIN and the rest, women above 25 years, the peak range is 25 to 35 years, while the peak range for cervical cancer is 50 years. So women are more prone to having cervical cancer under 50 years. while the malignant state, people are more prone to it at about 25 to 35 years. Thank you very much. This is very, very key question, because this is the reason why it is very, very important for women to do their pap smear regularly. Now, it takes about 10 to 15 years for this cancer to change from the pre-malignant state to the malignant state. In other words, to change from the pre-cancer state to the cancer state. So at this period of 10 to 15 years, a lot of things can be done. Women can access pap smear, women can access vaccines, and they can reduce their risk of developing cervical cancer. So it gives you a window of opportunity for about 10 to 15 years. So we have no excuse whatsoever, because this is why in developed societies like America and Europe, they have reduced the incidence of cervical cancer by over 75%, because their women go there to do pap smear, they do HPV check, and this has helped to reduce it because of that time limit, that time opportunity, that window of opportunity that women have to reduce this cervical cancer. So that 10 to 15 years, one can do a lot of things. And women can access hospitals, they can take the vaccines, and thereby reducing the prevalence and the incidence of cervical cancer in our environment. Very important. For a woman above 21 years, a lady should be screened every 3 years. Now, they can do the conventional pap smear, or you can do what they call the liquid-based cytology test. So this will help to check if there's any problem. Most times when you do the test, it may reveal that it's negative for intraepithelial lesion or malignancy. So if it's negative, that will be very, very good. You want to take the vaccine. So again, for women above 30 years, you can either do the HPV test and the pap smear every 5 years, in other words, together, or they do the pap smear alone every 3 years. Let me come again. For people above 21 years, they should do the pap smear every 3 years to check their status. Then for people above 30 years, they should do both the human papillomavirus test and the HPV test every 5 years, or they should do only the pap smear every 3 years to rule out cervical cancer.